911, where's your emergency?
He told me he won't let me out until I tell him the name on the package. He's on,
Okay.
he's yelling at me. I can't tell you the name on the package, sir. Please let me out. I left the package here, and I rang the doorbell. So if you want to take it, if you want to steal it, you can.
Sir, you need to ignore him and quit yelling at him, please.
I just want to get out of here. I don't feel safe.
That's me. A couple years ago, blocked into a stranger's driveway out past Davis Creek on a delivery, calling the cops because a man in a pickup decided I wasn't allowed to leave until I gave him a customer's name I was never going to give him. We'll get back to him, but first, I want to tell you what this work actually is, because I've done it most of my life, and almost nobody who hasn't has any idea. I drive for a living. I have, one way or another, for most of my life. Here's the thing I've never been able to explain to people who don't do it. I love it because it lets me run as far as I can, and then I wind up back home. Out of all the places I've ever been, wherever I call home is my favorite place on earth. When things get too real, I can get in the car with my music and just drive. I always see something new. I just have to look a little harder every day. That's the whole engine of me. Run out, come home. This is the story of doing that for a living, and I'm going to tell it to you straight, where I've been too, not just the pretty part. I started on pizza, the West Side of Charleston, a rough part of town to learn in, but I was young. It never bothered me. I learned something quick that stuck with me for 20 years. The poor customers, out on the west side, tipped better than the rich ones up in the hills. Almost every time. The people with the least gave the most. I'll be honest with you about how I even got that job. Right before it, I was working at a department store, and I got myself arrested and fired. Young and stupid. A buddy of mine got me back on my feet driving pizza a couple days later. That's the truth of where this started. From there, it wasn't a straight line. It took years. Other shops, a stretch waiting tables, then managing restaurants, working my way closer to home and toward places that treated people better. Eventually, I was running shops myself. I was the district guy. But don't picture an office. That job was still delivery, through and through. I was running the drivers, tied to the road, part of the same life, just with a title on it, which is exactly why the way out scared me so bad. There was a way out. General manager of a burger chain, steady money, off the road for good. One building to run instead of the whole valley. I almost took it. A man I worked for said one thing that stopped me cold. You'd go crazy in one building all day, now that you've been on the road. He was right. That scared me more than being broke did. I stayed on the road. I'll tell you what else was happening in those years though, because it's part of it. I was drinking. It started quiet, a lull, and then it wasn't quiet anymore. I stayed where I was, and I let that spiral keep going, right on into those first strange months of the pandemic. I'm not proud of that stretch. I was good at the work and coming apart underneath it at the same time. Both of those things were true. These days, it's the delivery apps and courier runs, groceries out of the big box store, and now a medical route, carrying something people actually need. For a stretch, I even carried mail, which paid better than any of it. But let me tell you about those trucks. Boxy old rattle traps. Cargo vans where the parking brake sticks out right where you need to climb in the back. The worst of them wore a fancy luxury badge on the hood, and were the most disgusting thing I ever sat in, I promise you. All of them filthy, all of them half falling apart. Most weekends they'd hand me a vehicle with no working speedometer at all. You just guess. The app is a little robot voice telling you to hurry, rerouting you, dinging your rating if the customer's in a mood. You learn to live inside that anxiety, timer always running, next ding always coming. Then you get to the drop. Down here, the drop is sometimes a road where half the houses are burned out and none of them have a number on them. You're standing in the dark in a stranger's yard holding their groceries, trying to figure out which house is even lived in, and trying not to get shot for being a stranger in a yard in the dark. That's the math you're always running. Here's the thing. That one was on me. On the medical route, you build your own run in the routing app, the whole manifest of stops. One night, I didn't double-check the order it put them in, and it had buried a stop way down at the bottom, a town I'd been sitting right next to hours earlier, over by Huntington. Once you pick up medical supplies, you don't get to just skip one. You get them to the door, or you carry them back to the pharmacy. Every single one. I don't know what happens if you don't. I'm betting you don't get another offer after that. I turned around and drove 2 hours back to a place I could have knocked out first thing. My own fault. You eat the miles, get home, sleep a few hours, get up, do it again. The money? I always just barely kept my head above water, kept the lights on. Always, and I mean always, a flat tire away from homelessness. Hold on to that one. It matters later. People ask if I've got regulars. Here's the honest answer. The best thing about this work is that I don't. I never know where I'm going. New faces, almost every single trip. That's not a downside. That's the whole reason I can stand it. The closest I ever get, there's a house I run to more than once, way off at the far end of things. Every time, it's a different person at the door. The kids, the parents, and the older folks the deliveries are really for. You never meet the same face twice. You get to know a house, a situation, never a person. The grocery runs were a little different. You get to know folks by their order. There was a family up a holler. Hot dogs and chili and buns. Same thing, right at the start of every month, because that's when the assistants came in, and they were stretching it to the end. Real nice people. The house next door to them was burned out to the frame, and the whole holler was dusty and washed out, like the color had been rinsed out of it. I'd hand them their food and drive back down out of there, and I'd think about that one for a while. I don't tell you that so you'll feel sorry for anybody. Last thing anybody up that holler wants is pity. I tell you because that's the drop. That's who's on the other side of the door. Real people, doing their math same as I'm doing mine. I'll give you one that shows the strangest part of the job. Most nights, nobody wants anything but their bag on the porch. But every so often, the door opens onto something you weren't sent for. One evening, on the medical route, it was an older woman, living alone, at the top of a flight of stairs. She'd called ahead. Her voice already told me she was elderly and not getting around well. When I got there, she couldn't even come to the door. She was back in the bedroom. The door was locked, and she talked me through popping it with a card so I could get her medicine inside to her. I'll be honest, I stood there a second. I know how that looks. A guy in a breezeway working a stranger's lock. Years of doing this, you learn to read a situation, and everything about this one was exactly what she said it was. A frail woman who genuinely could not get up. I got the door, carried her supplies up, and there she was, couldn't get herself back into the bed. No family, nobody else coming. I'm no nurse, and it's not my job, but you don't leave somebody's grandmother half out of her own bed. So I helped her get settled and made sure she was alright. She went to hand me money she didn't have, and I told her to keep it. I didn't do it for that. That's the drop. That's who's on the other side of some of these doors. Not a name on an app. Somebody alone, who needed a little more than what I was sent to carry. Which is why I record everything. This camera was a gift from my folks. My mom's the one who actually tracked it down and got it for me. I told them, and I meant it, it's one of the best things anybody has ever given me, and I use it every single day. Not because I'm making movies, because out here, alone in the car, the dash cam is the only thing that sees what happens to me. It's my only witness. I took a pizza run once, and it went sideways the way they do, and the customer decided it was my fault, canceled the tip, left a bad review. There's no appeal to that. No boss to tell your side to. The app just takes their word and you eat it. Except the whole time I'm thinking, I am so glad I have that camera. It's all on there. They can say whatever they want. I know what happened, and it's recorded. When you spend your days getting judged by an app and by strangers who will never see your face, having one thing in the world that just records the truth, that helps more than you'd think. It's not a gadget. It's the one thing out here that's on my side. My folks put it there. Remember that too. Let me tell you about a flat tire. Not long ago. 5 stops. A storm coming down like the sky had a grudge. I'm coming back through Beckley for the second time that night, hydroplaning, playing old 80s rock. The stuff that always makes me smile, takes me back to when I was young and everything made me smile. I'll take snow over rain any day. In rain you can't do a thing, you just start to slide. The front tire starts going down. I stop, I air it up, it goes down again. I stop, I put in the last of the Fix-A-Flat, get it to 20 pounds. It needs 33, and I pray it holds. It doesn't. Out on the interstate, near midnight, at Green Sulphur Springs, exit 143, the tire won't hold 20 pounds. I'm done. I've still got 3 stops out there waiting on me, and a lady on the last one who's already called dispatch, and I am stopped dead on the side of the interstate in the rain. I called my dad. He came, middle of the night, out in the storm. We got every lug nut off and the car jacked up, and the wheel would not come off the hub. Rusted on. Would not move. We left it. Left my car right there under the overpass on the interstate, in the dark and the rain. My dad loaded me up and, this is the part, we went and finished the route. All 3 stops. The last customer, way out at the end of it, I called at midnight to say I was coming, and I got there at 3:30 in the morning, because you don't leave somebody hanging. That's the job. That's who I am now. I'll come back to that. Funny thing about my dad's car, too. The nastiest van they ever put me in wore a fancy luxury badge on the hood. The car that came and got me off that mountain at 3 a.m., same badge. same fancy hood ornament. My dad's was old and rough too, worn down like everything else out here. When those headlights came up on me in the rain, it wasn't some shiny thing riding to the rescue. It was a familiar sight. The same beat-up badge I knew from the worst nights of work, this time coming to get me. One wore that badge as a filthy death trap. The other wore it as salvation. It's all in who's driving. Back to the man in the pickup. It ended okay. The lady whose package it was came out and had no idea who the guy even was, and he finally moved his truck and let me go. I drove to the old store by the exit and waited for the police, like the 9/11 lady told me to. It isn't the only time. A man came out on me with a shotgun once. Wrong address. Meant for his neighbor. Another fella chased me down in a pickup at 2 a.m. for pulling onto his land by mistake. It happens. I mostly figure it's a show of force. I give them the benefit of the doubt, and I remember it's all on the camera anyway. But when that officer showed up, he looked at me. I saw it, like I was somebody who couldn't handle himself. I asked him, half joking, "Guess I need a gun if I'm gonna keep delivering out here." He said, "Yup." Now, let me be careful here because it's not that simple. Just about every one of these delivery outfits flat out prohibits carrying a gun out in the open on the job. Honestly, having worked alongside some of the fellas out here doing this work, I can't say they're wrong to. You would not want all of us armed. I mean that. A man alone out past where help is coming isn't crazy to keep something quiet and discreet, or at the least a can of dog spray on the seat beside him. That's still not really my security system though. You want to know what's actually kept me alive out here? It's a rule. It's the whole reason for the title of this thing. I make myself more trouble than I'm worth. Look at me. I've got nothing worth stealing. Nothing. If you come at me anyway over a stranger's groceries, over a $7 drop, you won't be robbing a man, you'll be cornering an animal. Something older than me takes over out there, the part of a cornered creature that would rather ruin you than yield, that has already decided the little it's got is going to cost you everything to take. I don't have to beat you, I just have to make beating me the worst bargain you ever struck. So ugly, so costly, over so little, that you'll spend a long time wishing you'd picked an easier man. That's not bravado, that's just the instinct. It's older than I am, and it has kept me here. That's the whole strategy. Not a gun, not being tough, just being a bad trade. Rob a man who has nothing, and who'll turn into a wild animal over the nothing he's got? That's a losing deal, and everybody out here can do that math. Make yourself more trouble than you're worth. That's how the poor and the alone have stayed alive on these roads since long before me. Your move, buddy. That's what the gig really is. It sends a man out alone, no protection, no backup, into the places the rest of the country forgot, for $7 and a 1-star review. And when it goes wrong, the official advice is handle it yourself. Nobody's coming. I told you I'd come back to who I am now. Here it is, straight. My dad's people came up gypsy, Hungarian. That much I know for certain. I've always figured the running's just in my blood, going back further than I can see. I'll be honest with you, I have never been above bending my morals to survive, or to take care of the people I love. In that way, I'm no better than what any thief tells himself to sleep better at night. I've thought that about myself for a long time, and I'm not going to sit here on camera and pretend I haven't. I drank. For years. I was coming apart while I kept the roots running, and if you'd have met me then you might not have known, but I knew. I don't drink anymore. Coming up on 3 years now. I'm not going to make a big speech out of it. The people in the rooms would tell you not to. I'll just say this is the longest I've been a whole person in my adult life, and this work is part of how I stay one. Out on the road, running as far as I can and coming home, that keeps me sober. It keeps me alive, and mostly happy, which I did not always used to be. I'll tell you something I figured out about myself out here. I like the long routes, the far ones, and for a while I didn't know why. Then it hit me. On the far routes, I'm not driving past anything that reminds me of who I used to be. Close to home, every other corner's got a ghost on it. There's a store I used to pull up 2 years ago, back when I was running things and drinking my way through it. I showed up out there one night so drunk I could barely stand, just killing time. And somebody I worked with looked at me and asked if I'd been drinking, and I said yeah, said it right out. Part of me was standing there begging to get fired, to have somebody stop me, because I couldn't stop myself. That was a long time ago. It's done. I answered for it, paid what it cost me, all of it. I still can't drive past that place without it playing again, front to back, like it just happened. I don't know why the mind holds on to the worst night and turns loose of the good ones. I take the far routes, not running from it exactly, just putting some miles between me and the man I was, so I can breathe. The man who drove to 3:30 in the morning so a stranger wouldn't get left hanging, that is not the man I was 10 years ago. I paid for the man I was, lost things over him. I've spent every day since trying to be somebody my kid or cat can look up to. I'm not telling you I'm fixed. I'm telling you I changed, slow and for real, and I earned every inch of it. Where I was is true. Where I am is also true. Both of them go in this story or none of it does. Which brings me back to that flat tire, and the thing I actually learned that night. My dad came at 3 a.m., in the rain. It didn't even stop there. He dropped me home near dawn, slept about 2 hours, and then, while I was still dead to the world, he got my car towed off that interstate, got the tire fixed, and had it sitting back in his own driveway by 3 o'clock that same afternoon. Handled the whole disaster. Left me exactly one thing to do. Get the woman I'm going to marry to run me down to his place to pick it up. More trouble than I'm worth. I've said that to every shadow on every dark porch for years. It's armor. It's a warning. It's kept me breathing. I'll tell you the quiet truth of it though. For a long time I said that about myself to the people who love me too. Figured that's what I was to them. More trouble than I was worth. The drinking. The man I used to be. All of it. Then the wheel won't come off the hub at midnight, and I find out what I really am to them. There's a camera on my windshield my mom went and tracked down for me. There's a phone that rings at 3 a.m., and it's my dad. There's a car towed and fixed and home before I'm even awake, his doing, while I slept. There's the woman I'm going to marry, driving me down to go get it. I spend my days believing nobody's coming, and a whole village came, in the dark, for a man who spent years sure he wasn't worth the trouble. There's an old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. I'm a grown man, 43, a father myself. Some nights, out on that interstate in the rain, I'm still exactly that. Somebody's child, being raised, still, even now, by people who decided a long time ago that I was worth the trouble. Maybe that's the real rule of the road. Out there, to strangers, in the dark, be more trouble than you're worth. It'll keep you alive. But if you're lucky, and I have been, you'll come home to the handful of people you could never be too much trouble for, running as far as I can, then finding my way back to them. With a witness my mother gave me, a father who comes when I call, and a village I didn't even know was watching. Thank you for riding with me. We are in this together. Keep going.